Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from in the world. We are so happy to have you at today's virtual job fair. My name is Meg. I'm going to be your host for both sessions of today's event on the main stage. Let's jump in with our first presenter. Abu is here on behalf of Expedia Group. So Abu, take it away.
Thank you so much, Meg, and I hope you can all hear me okay. Just a thumbs up if you can. Excellent. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. And it's a real pleasure to be with you today. I feel like I failed on the first hurdle. We moved over from the green room and I've completely lost my lovely Expedia background, so apologies for that. So you've got the bland wall behind me. For those of you who are not familiar with Expedia, our mission is really to power global travel for everyone. And we have 14,000 Expedians all across the globe who play a special role and a significant role to ensure that our platforms create this experience for everyone. So this is what I thought I would do, because I think this is really special for this audience. Rather than just have a script about Expedia, what I thought I would do is to share with you a little bit about what I do, but also why I decided to join Expedia, because I've only recently joined the organization. So I thought that would be helpful for you to hear why I decided to join. Plus, I think there's some really good literature, which you can see right in front of you about Expedia, which will help as well. Okay, so I joined EG towards the end of October of last year as a Senior Director for Diversity and Inclusion, covering all of our regions within EMEA and APAC. So really looking after all of our locations outside of the US. And I spend the majority of my time broadly focused on who we hire, who we recruit, how we manage our workforce, advising lines of businesses on all aspects of diversity and inclusion. So from gender to race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, to age, religion, the gender pay gap, the talent that we bring into the organization, but all sense of culture as well. Prior to working for EG, I worked for a number of FTSE 100 companies, so the Financial Times, The Economist, Penguin Books, BAE Systems, and Boeing. For me, there are two distinct reasons as to why I chose Expedia. The first one is that I desperately wanted to be in the tech space. And I also wanted to work for a tech company that was really disrupting the world, but in a good way, of course, in an absolutely good way. The second reason, and I know I've got a few of my recruiters online, is that I really was impressed with the recruitment and selection process at EG. Absolutely outstanding. From start to finish, the engagement, the communication, the way they absolutely engaged with me throughout the whole process was phenomenal. For me, they didn't sugarcoat the challenges within EG, but also talked with immense pride about the passion, the culture, the people, and what it's like to work for EG. So that completely did it for me. And next slide, because the other thing I want to show you is the values of EG. If you haven't seen them, you have to take a look at them. Thank you, Meg, for that. So that completely did it for me. So if you love travel, looking forward, and you're looking for a forward-thinking tech company that's disrupting the world, cares deeply about its people, their well-being, career progression, somewhere where you can be yourself or bring your whole self to work, I would really, really consider Expedia. Meg, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abu, for that great insight into Expedia Group. All right, up next, we are going to have Equinix. Marilyn, why don't you take it away?
Hello, hi everybody. Again, Abu, you're not alone. I too have lost my flashy background, but I'm in our offices today, which is exciting. So really, really excited to be here with everyone. My name is Marilyn Moro. I am the new to career program lead here at Equinix. So very exciting. It's a new function for Equinix. And basically I hire lots of interns. But it's very apt because I myself am new to career. I've been here since October. And my former career was as an athlete. So I retired in 2021 after 2 decades of running around in circles and winning a few medals for Team GB, which is super exciting. However, there's a lot of talk about what athletes do next and how hard it is to transition into, I guess, another career. And that's exactly the space I found myself. And it was really difficult, really trying. Ultimately, you're just wondering what is going to fulfill that exhilaration, the highs and the lows. And, you know, again, without that feeling of having to start over. So I came through one of the amazing pathways we have here at Equinix, which is the athlete career transition pathway. And we also have sort of the wider professional career transition. We also have getting women back into work after having a break. We also have the veteran program. So the athlete career transition, I'm super proud about. It's pretty new. It's definitely making waves globally. But I was really thankful to partner with them. They have partnered with a company that truly understands where athletes are in that space. I was a bit taken aback when they said it was a data infrastructure company. I was wondering, what do I have to offer? But testament to Equinix, they really look at the person, the transferable skills we come with. The smoothest process I've had. I think I was applying for jobs for about 15 weeks before I landed with Equinix, and it was definitely the best, most memorable experience. So was really happy to be in the TA space. Throughout my career, I have done a lot of public speaking, mentoring and coaching. So really kind of was looking to work with people. And so, yeah, really just glad to have landed here. The culture speaks for itself. If we pop onto the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit more about, you know, what I found once I got here. We talk often about the magic of Equinix, and it really is the people. It's just somewhere where you can really show up as your whole self. Everyone, we have a mantra called "I'm safe, I belong, and I matter," and that's how I really felt in a time in my life where I was pretty lost and pretty lonely, and I came into a completely new career. Really not speaking the language, but my team, my next team, after a crazy whirlwind time in sport, really supported me. My hiring manager was super crucial to my transition. And I've found so much of myself in lots of different aspects. So yes, I sit in the new to career team, but I've managed to use my speaking skills to help some of the other orgs. I get to draw on my mentoring and coaching, whether it's talking to the hiring managers or whether it's the incoming interns. But also just being able to join our employee networks, which are, I guess, one of the standout things for me. So I've joined the leadership team for the ambassador for Black Connect, but we have various employee networks where, you know, everyone can find a community where they belong, they can be vulnerable and reach out. But also I know with like Black Connect, we are really focused on, you know, career development pathways for our Black community. So I'm super excited to share more about that if anyone has any questions. But really, you know, just to echo the values that are up there: speak up and speak out, serve others, be an energy supplier. They're probably the 3 ones that stand out most for me. So have a great day. And yeah, please, if anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marilyn. That was absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your story with Equinix. My sister was actually in sports marketing and management in college in Cincinnati, Ohio, and was involved with a similar project working with NFL players and trying to get, you know, make them more able to transition, you know, into the workforce. So I think that is fabulous. You know, a cause that is near and dear to my heart as well. All right. So last but not least, we are going to talk to Shelley about Servicenow. So Shelley, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. I mean, how do I follow an Olympian, an ex-Olympian? Thanks for that, guys. I as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, no. The only thing I think I've got going for me today is I realise I'm on personal brand because I've got exactly the same top on as in that picture, which was a pure coincidence. So there we go. So hi, everyone. My name is Shelley Hammond, and I work for Servicenow as an HR business partner. So my primary role, let's get my words out. The primary role for myself is I support different business leaders across our UK business, because that's where I'm based, And I often say I help them make good decisions for their people. So that's kind of the role that I play. And ServiceNow, gosh, where do we start? I was just thinking, like, where's the simplest way to sort of explain who and what we are? So ServiceNow is a technology company at heart. They are based in America. That's where they were founded, in a city called Santa Clara, which is part of the Silicon Valley kind of network, quite well known for some of the big tech companies out there. In EMEA, so our Europe, Middle East and Africa region, we have 23 offices, and we have globally 17,000 employees. I've been there for 3 years, and I probably now have absolutely lost count of the rate of change, the exciting kind of daily differences and varieties that we have. I mean, I have never worked for a company that is on such a hyper growth trajectory. It means our kind of war on talent, as we kind of call it internally, is super high. We hire what we class as 9s and 10s. So we like to put ourselves in that category, of course. So of course I'm a 10 out of 10. Why wouldn't I be? But that's what we're looking for. That's what we're striving for. And we try and hire the absolute best people that we can. So who is ServiceNow? What do we do? So I was trying to sort of keep this as simple as possible, because I'll be very honest, when I came and worked for ServiceNow 3 years ago, I'd never heard of them. And that's just me being completely honest. So what do? We build a technology that's based in the cloud, and it allows customers to scale their infrastructure. And we use the phrase, we make work flow. So the easiest way, I'm sort of sitting here thinking, how can I explain this? Because it's technical and it gets in deep, and our technical types love this subject. But if you're like me and maybe not so connected to the technical side of the business, how do you explain it in layman terms? So I wanted to give you an example of how we onboard, so how we welcome new people to our business. And we use our own technology for that. So simply put, we use our technology, and we have an app, and we have all of our usual onboarding bits and pieces. So all of the things that you'd expect to complete as a new person. So your personal data, your address, your date of birth, your bank details, all of this stuff. And we make it flow. So you complete one task, it moves you on to the next, it moves you on to the next, etc. But it's all done on an app on your mobile phone. And you can upload your documents, so any of your identity documents, for example. It goes into our secure hub. And ultimately, this is technology that we sell as well to customers. And that's just one very, very tiny piece. But I wanted to kind of draw that out to you, because we really, really focus on what we call experiences. So whether that's an employee experience, a customer experience, we are trying to build a really, really simplified, large technology structure that allows all of our customers to make their work flow. So it's a very exciting company. It's very relevant. It's innovative. We are people-centric, and we like to put our culture at absolute number one. So thank you for moving on to the next slide, because this is our strapline there, is we make the world of work better for everybody. Culture is really, really important to me on a personal level. And I call that out in particular because I actually joined a company a few years ago. And for the first time in my career, realised I'd made a mistake, actually. And it took me a little bit of time to realise that. It was a very anxiety-inducing time, as you can imagine. You leave a job, you join another one, and then you go, oh my God, what have I actually come to? And I lasted 11 weeks. And I resigned, and I felt very empowered, and I felt like that was the right decision. But I was like, wow, what have I done here? And the culture just wasn't right for me. The environment itself that I thought I was going into wasn't. So it was really important to me, like my next move was about culture. And that's kind of led for me every single time I've made a career decision. It's about the people and it's about the culture. That's my personal mantra. And for me, ServiceNow really, really fits that. So we've been very lucky to be awarded some accolades in these last couple of years that kind of are a testament to our fantastic culture. And we've also tried to sort of simplify our values over the last few years as well. So we've kind of condensed them down a little bit to kind of 4 key ones, which you can see there, which is wow our customers, win as a team, create belonging, and stay hungry and humble. We used to have hungry and humble, and we've added the word stay. So create belonging is similar to what Marilyn was saying, really, around bringing your authentic self to work. Like, absolutely, that's what we want you to do. And we want you to feel like you belong to the company, that you can trust us, that you can be yourself, and that we create this trusting environment so that you feel you belong. And again, if I was to sort of put my own personal spin on it, that's the most important one for me. But they're equally there as our values. And I look forward to kind of talking to everybody in our breakout sessions and hopefully getting in a little bit deeper into all of these. So yeah, thank you very much, Meg. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Now, I am really, really excited for this next portion of today's event. So we are going to go to audience questions. So if you have questions for any member of these teams, please feel free, share your questions in the chat thread there. If you have a question that you'd like us to ask, but you want to be kept anonymous, totally great. That's not a concern at all. You can just DM the questions to Dilyara. You'll find her name on the drop-down menu. She's one of the Power to Fly teammates representing us here today. There she is in her amazing duo color blazer. I'm so jealous. So Dilyara is going to be helping me to field questions, but please feel free, put any questions you want to know into the chat thread. Make the most of this FaceTime you have with the teams from Servicenow, Expedia, and Equinix before we go into breakout sessions. So to get us started, I wanted to talk a little bit about, pardon me, what the flexible or remote work arrangement looks like at various companies. So if anybody would like to start us off here, please feel free. How about Abu? Do you want to start us off on this and tell us about how Expedia Group works with flexible and remote work arrangements?
Meg, you're going to make me sound like a salesman today. Honestly, I started during the pandemic, and flexibility is just one of those things that right off the back of it, Expedia offered. So we've been in a sort of hybrid mood at the moment, going back into the office on a 50-50 basis. But even before that, seriously, depending on teams, you can choose how you want to do that flexibility. But in terms of flexibility, very rich on it. A lot of my team is based globally as well. So if you think about how I work for EMEA and APAC, I spend a lot of time sometimes on very early calls for APAC. So I can be up at 4 or 5 in the morning, work right through to the afternoon and have that flexibility and time off. But at the same time, I do a lot of work with the US. So sometimes I stay on a bit late, but the flexibility is just amazing. Something that I think we've truly embraced in the pandemic as well. So not an issue, and something that's really open to EG.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Abu, for sharing that. Marilyn, let's go to you next. Let's talk about what flexible work arrangements look like at Equinix.
Awesome. So obviously being a former athlete, I am used to jet setting the globe. So I remember one of my first one-to-ones, I was like, Kelly, I need to travel as much as possible. But alas, we're in a pandemic. So I was initially quite worried about my onboarding just because it's a completely new industry. But I mean, similar to Abu, most of my team are in the US. I am the only one here in London. And for EMEA, the wider TA team is here. So, you know, obviously my ignorance, before I try to do a good job, I was on in the morning all day. And my manager, Kelly, was like, you don't need to be on all these calls. I was like, I don't want to miss anything. But no, we are super flexible. We are a global team. And, you know, it's just about managing your diary and making sure you've got that work-life balance. So they kept saying, you know, if you need to go and do something in the afternoon, go ahead. So I think this is awesome as well, because I do my best to place a lot of athletes because of the flexible work, I could have trained very easily alongside this job and supported myself. So we've also got interns coming in. And, you know, they've missed, 2 good years of uni life. So they're really excited to know what is the setup and want to be in person. Whereas a lot of the teams are working hybrid or are just getting used to returning to the office. So I love that the flexibility is there. We're starting to see a few more bodies around the place, which is lovely. I sit in Devonshire Square, but there is that flexibility because, of course, a lot of people have moved out of the city as well. But we are a global company, so it's always going to require that flexibility.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Shelley, what about Servicenow? What does hybrid or flexible work arrangements look like at Servicenow?
Yeah, sure. I sort of half feel the need to sort of say, I am also at home today. So we have flexibility, just to kind of prove that. So I kind of click back on my virtual camera, virtual background. So Servicenow, we were primarily office-based before the pandemic, and there were lots of reasons for that. We're not based in central London. We do have an office there, but that is what we call our kind of customer hub. So the point of that is it's a very plush environment where we can wow our customers. We have typically our kind of sales types would work from there and then kind of use it as a kind of centralized hub to go home from. We have a large office out in the suburbs of Surrey, which is, you know, for those of you who perhaps don't know where Surrey is, it's about 30 minutes outside of London. So it really captures the kind of southeastern parts of the world. And our main reason for that actually was our culture. A lot of our culture revolved around our collaborative spaces, our in-person events, our kickoffs, our kind of team meetings. It was a people-centric, collaborative environment. And then sort of fast forward, as we all know, suddenly we were at home. So we kind of put our thinking caps on. What now does that future of work look like for us? And what we heard very loud and clear was the flexibility. Although people could work from home before, it wasn't as rigid as I think it became during the pandemic. So that kind of rigidity set in. People built their lives now around a brand new routine, which we accepted and we appreciated. So fast forward, we wanted to reopen our doors as quickly as possible, again, for a number of reasons, but we also wanted to accommodate for those who potentially were in a little bit more of a vulnerable situation. We didn't ask why, but we wanted there to be a safe environment or for kind of mental health and well-being. So I'll hold my hand up. I really struggle to work from home. I genuinely believe it's taken me over 2 years to get used to it. I'm an extrovert. I need the energy of people around me. I enjoy meeting people. It didn't suit me to suddenly be at home on my own all day. So I really welcomed being able to go back into the office, and there were lots of people like me. What we have now done as a company is we have really reassessed what does the need of, what's the purpose of the office, what's the need for it. And we now accept that it's still for the same reasons: collaboration, social interaction, you know, the kind of the cultural aspects and the events are still going on. But outside of that, you don't have to be going into the office if there's no reason for you to be there. And what we've actually done is introduce 3 personas. So we call them office, flexible, which is basically hybrid, or permanently remote. Now, 80% of our employees will fit into the flexible working environment, which basically means you choose how many days and for what reason you need to go into the office. So if I again use myself, I do about 2 to 3 days a week, but my colleague does 1 day a week. And then I've got other colleagues who do 5 days a week. It's completely down to you. We treat you like adults. We expect you to manage your day. Now, our office persona is really for those people that absolutely have to be in the office. So maybe that's kind of technical, critical roles, our receptionists, but there's very, very few people that are there. Then our remote working, we have some criteria. And if that means that you fit that criteria, then we'll happily make you a remote worker as well. What we've found, though, is that people want the flexibility. People want that hybrid nature. So we do have an office in London, as I've mentioned, which means people are starting to use that a little bit more. And the office out in Surrey, people are definitely using that as well. To give you an example of some of the events, so on Tuesday of this week, we had a Bring Your Kids to Work Day where we had 70 children. For the life of me, 70 children turn up and cause chaos in our office, but lots of fun. On Monday, we had puppies in the office, which lots of people came in for. So we're trying to do lots of networking events, what we're calling speed networking. We're deliberately targeting all of those people that joined us through the pandemic as well, because we want people to feel connected. That sense of belonging is so important to us. So if I was to summarize it, 3 categories of people, 80% is flexible. You choose how and when you want to use the office.
That is really cool. I absolutely love that it is, you know, one of those things that y'all have plans in place for each. You are absolutely right. And I don't think you're alone in the fact that it's taken a lot of us like a while to get used to working at home, especially if you made that shift during the pandemic. I was lucky enough to make it the year before. But yeah, that first remote, like first couple months being
But it
remote
was the abruptness, wasn't it?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
suddenly...
Oh, it's a completely different. It's totally different. Like, I mean, it was even completely different at companies that already had remote as an option pre-pandemic. So yeah, it was understandably hugely impactful on people's lives. And there's a lot of people in the chat that are saying the same thing. They really, thrive off of the buzz of working around other people. So hopefully, that's something that can be much more safe and widespread going forward for those that want it. We have a lot of people in the chat that are asking about global hiring capabilities. So let's just talk for a second, super high level, where, do you have to be located in a specific country to be able to apply? Do you have to be in the same location as the job to which you are applying? How does this all work? Or what should they know when they're looking at roles with your company? Marilyn, do you want to take us first with Equinix here?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have an incredible global mobility team that I am always pestering just to make sure, because ideally we want the best person for the job. So there is that option. If that is the best person for the job and we need to relocate them, we will. But just to make life as simple, as straightforward as possible, we do have questionnaires during the application process, which asks your location, preferred locations, but also right to work information. And so ideally, it would be great if you were in the location for the job, but with our more technical positions, that might, it might require someone to relocate. I know from my personal development, which we focus on for each employee, one of the things I wanted to do was to be able to travel within my role. And so I had really transparent conversations with my manager and also the director of TA. And so this is definitely something we can look into and plan towards. So I love that about Equinix. It really is inclusive. So yeah, but just generally, and I know with the internship program, just because it is a 3-month, 12-week position that we have at the moment for our global program, it is just easier to have them at the location. But we then do look to convert into full-time employees. So we just need to make sure legally and from a right to work standpoint that can work. But the Glomo team are awesome.
Excellent, very cool. Abu, do you want to start us or get us all early morning alarms. Do you want to get us started and tell us about how hiring works with Expedia Group?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, this question is a two-part. So first of all, relocation, I would say absolutely dependent on the right role. So if you, depending on the role you're applying for, relocation is possible. The other thing that I would say, we're such a huge platform that we're in all of those major super regions. So I'm sure wherever you are in the world, there is an office for Expedia as well. So that is possible. So locally, absolutely, 100%, we're global. But relocation, which I think is so important, is something that is also encouraged at EG, depending on the role that you apply for. But we do have some recruiters on the call today. I'm sure they'll have a more comprehensive answer than that one. But that's where we are. Relocation is allowed. We're also a global company, so we've got locations throughout the world.
Excellent. Servicenow. Shelley, take it home here.
I think I've seen a question which almost maybe suggests that you could have a job in one country, maybe work in another. So I feel like I might just cover that off just in case that is the premise behind the question. So there's lots of different laws per country, and simply put, you must be employed in the country that your contract is based in. So for example, if you were based in the UK, you have to work in the UK. If the job's in France, you have to physically be located in France, as an example. We've seen a lot of global mobility through the pandemic, but ultimately your contract of employment means you have to work in that country, and that's employment law. Again, similar to what the other two folk have said here, yes, there's a relocation option. There are global mobility options. We do have people on visas. So typically it would be down to kind of, local government rules, etc., as to whether you qualify. So that's not something we could probably go into too much here, but the option is there. What we find in the UK in particular is it tends to sort of be more kind of niche and specialist roles, because our government sort of dictate that's the sort of premise behind visas, is that you can't find that person within your own country, so to speak. But the option's there, and it would be explored, on a kind of case-by-case basis, really.
All right, excellent. Okay, so we're getting a lot of questions in the chat. I'm going to try and make sure we get to as many of these as possible. So we did have a question asking about how your company supports career growth and mentoring opportunities. So let's talk about, what career development or growth of your employees looks like at your various companies. Shelley, do you want to kick us off for Servicenow, or do you want me to touch on somebody else first?
No, I don't mind at all. So it's a big topic for us, actually. We do an awful lot around career development. And actually, I suppose I would probably try and summarize it in a sort of simple way as possible. It's really, really important to us, because if you remember what I said at the start, we work in a particularly competitive environment with the kind of all the Silicon Valley-esque tech kind of companies that are out there. So we know that career growth, retention is absolutely key for us. And you'll hear the phrase growth a lot at Servicenow. And we have what we call quarterly growth conversations. So once every 3 months, you sit down with your manager, you're looking at your goals, you're looking at your personal career, you're looking at kind of personal development in a kind of deeper kind of dive. And the point behind that is growth. And it's something that's really important to us. And we expect all of our managers to be doing that across the board. People really embrace it. So that's good to know as well. And we have lots of programs, lots of training schemes. We have lots of development for our people managers as well. So we don't just say, oh, you're a people manager, that's okay, we're not going to train you anymore. Like, that continues, and we want everybody to have this kind of growth mindset sort of constantly at Servicenow. I mean, there's so much opportunity, and we have a lot of internal movement as well. We make it a point to advertise our internal vacancies, as well as, obviously externally. So there's just a plethora of opportunity. I don't know if that sounds a bit too holistic, but it's our number one priority is career opportunities and growth.
That is so great to hear, and I think there's a lot of people that really would love to take advantage of great programs like y'all have going. Abu, do you want to share this how this works at Expedia Group?
Well, this is such a brilliant question, and thank you to whoever asked this. So at EG, we have a high performance culture. Not only do we look at performance and career growth, what I love about EG is that there's a huge focus on well-being as well, which I think is absolutely just as important. But for career growth, as you can imagine, we have all the standard things, such as EG Essentials. So when you first come into the organization, there's a series of online courses and face-to-face courses that you have to do. That then goes into a personalized performance review, quarterly conversations with your leader, developing your plan for yourself and your growth. There's a plethora of online learning courses that you could do at EG as well to support and advance your career. There's coaching, there's mentoring, there's formal conversations around coaching and sponsorship and mentorship as well. So for me, I think we're a little spoiled at EG when it comes to career development.
Very, very cool. Marilyn, what does career development look like at Equinix?
Oh, endless possibilities. So there's so many layers. I'm going to kick off with I guess my baby with the internship program. Each intern is coming in to get an idea of, is this the industry I want to be in? So they get obviously the support from the hiring manager, but I'm really passionate about the mentorship program. So each one has a mentor assigned as well as a buddy. And I know from my perspective, essentially I was coming into a full-time role, but it was like being an intern. And so I had that great support from my peers, but also my hiring manager. On the professional side, we attack this from absolutely the diversity and inclusion perspective. So we've got the incredible EWLN, which is our ladies and women in the workforce mentoring programs. There's lots of career development from that perspective, but also we take that even more granular into our employee networks. And so I know for Black Connect over the next year and a half, we are really focused on the career development and learning opportunities for our Black employees. So there are so many layers, but there's a huge focus on mentoring, leadership, and making sure that each employee feels empowered to attack their dreams and goals within the company.
Very, very cool. Thank you all for sharing those things. We have a little more than 20 minutes left in today's session before we go into our breakout rooms. So if y'all have questions for the presenters, please feel free to share those in the chat. I'm going to keep sharing links to where you can check out the company pages for our various companies today. Those company pages are where you're going to be able to search their open roles. You can apply to open roles right from our website. You can also, this is especially great feature that I want to make sure everybody knows about. If you are interested in Servicenow or in Equinix or in Expedia Group, and you are searching the roles and don't necessarily see anything that really fits your skill set, fits what you are looking to do, the best thing you can do for yourself at that point is at the top of their company page on the right-hand side, there's going to be a button that says follow. Click that button. You can follow and unfollow as many companies as you want on Powerfly, and it does a lot of really cool things for you, but basically it's going to work like your friend at the company. So it's going to tell the various company teams that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out an application, but it's also going to make sure that you get an alert when that company posts new roles. So it's a really great way to make sure that you don't feel like you have to spend hours and hours continuously scouring the same job boards in hopes that something has changed. But like I said, you can follow and unfollow as many companies as you want, as many times as you want. So if you are actively, looking for jobs, or you want to make sure that you don't miss the next opening at Expedia Group, this is a really great way to make sure you can do that. All right, so we're going to keep going back and trying to make sure we answer all of our audience questions today. We did get a lot of people wanting to know how you help new hires to feel welcome and part of the team. And I feel like this is a very important question, especially now when, as so many of you have talked to us about, y'all have, hybrid roles, you have remote roles, you have different situations going on in your various groups. So let's talk about what that looks like to be a new team member joining your team. Let's see, Marilyn, do you want to start us off for Equinix here?
Yeah, sure. I guess it's still very fresh in my head. But yeah, there's a really great onboarding process. I guess initially I came on as a contractor, so that looked slightly different, and recently just had my conversion into full-time employee. And so the onboarding and training there kind of just went into another layer, because obviously you're then privy to, we have a hub, which is just an endless database of all different things that can support, right from a checklist from your first day, right to who to contact and all the main stakeholders that you need, whether it's simply IT or, just making sure you've got all your benefits and, you're subscribing to all the wider benefits that are available to you. And then I was assigned a buddy within my team, as well as my hiring manager. And no one has been located in the UK. So then my hiring manager made sure I had a buddy who was in Devonshire Square. So a really comprehensive process. I'm used to learning on the job as well. So it was kind of strange for me kind of coming in and having so much support and so much collaborations. Us athletes, we used to just cracking on. But, it was great that there's always someone on hand to help. So yeah, there's a whole sort of new hire protocol, which is listed on the hub that everyone's directed to once they join.
Excellent. Thank you, Marilyn. Shelley, how about we talk about what onboarding looks like at Servicenow?
Sure. So let me get my thoughts in a row. We do so much. So day one, everyone is gathered virtually. We used to do that in person, but we actually believe that the virtual sessions will stay actually. So everyone comes together and we go through a whole day of company information, important things that you need to know, etc., etc. that summarize at the end of the day, lots of links, etc. But that's the more formalized stuff. And I think, again, if I was to really touch on the kind of people-centric angle that we have, so everyone is assigned a buddy. And to Marilyn's point as well, like that's really crucial, particularly in this kind of virtual world. Typically, there will be someone within your country, that we've got so many offices across EMEA that would be weird if they weren't based in your country. We really encourage people to actually get together and meet as well. So one of the things that we do a lot of are kind of group lunches. There's walking events that we have. We encourage kind of walking meetings, local meetups if you're perhaps not physically near one of the offices, because we just believe that human connection and making those kind of real life connections is really, really critical to making sure you feel that you're settling in quickly. Something I remember very distinctly, even though it was 3 years ago, is how quickly you do feel like you settle into Servicenow. It's not a particularly complex environment to kind of figure out. I think things come along and remind you that you're new quite often, but that's in any company. But I liked the fact that I could figure stuff out really easily. I knew where things were. I knew where I could go to for information. We also have what we call a people care team. Now, our people care team are our kind of one-stop shop for sort of everything. So whether that's what day is payday, I thought I could access this, but it doesn't seem that I can get in there. Where do I sign up for this, that, or the other? You basically send all of your requests into this central hub, and there's a whole team of people that come back to you within 48 hours. And that's something that we kind of get off the ground as soon as possible, like use them, so that you're never left wondering, or what do I do? Yeah, and our managers are really hands-on. It's their job to make sure that people feel welcome, and they do. We just think that people settle in really, really quickly and easily, and that's something that we're really quite proud of.
Very, very cool. I love the memory that you had of your onboarding 3 years ago. I also have been with Power to Fly for 3 years, and I absolutely remember what it was like onboarding, and it was such a great process. So I totally sympathize with the fact that like that kind of stuff sticks with you.
Yeah, it does stick with you. You're right, because if you remember pivotal moments in life, right? Good, bad, and ugly. So it's lovely to kind of look back and remember something that was really good as well.
Yes, for sure. We do have a lot of people chiming in the chat. Marilyn talking about virtual coffee breaks. I love that. And I love that, you know, as the team members are answering questions, if there's something else that occurs to you, they're putting it in the chat. So, you know, please make sure you're keeping your eye on the chat, not only for the questions that you can put in there, but also for the extra information that our panelists are sharing there as well. All right, Abu, what does that onboarding look like at Expedia Group?
I swear to God, I'm not being paid to say this. I'm not even that excitable in real life. When onboarding, this is such an important question, because for me, onboarding is one of those things that sets the stage for someone's career. And it's so important. On my onboarding, my manager's based in New York, flew from New York to London and met me at reception on my first day. You cannot beat that. In terms of what we do, we're a global organization, so we have a comprehensive onboarding for all new starters. And then individually as managers, you have and you're encouraged to set that 1 week plan, 30-day plan, 60-day plan, really intensive, really onboard that person, not just into your team, but to the wider EG. There are other aspects to this that are so important. Do you get your equipment on time? Is your badge waiting for you? Honestly, EG is incredible when it comes to onboarding. So,
I mean, truly, it's the details that make something, you know, it's just that chef's kiss on top of a really, really great experience. So thank you so much for sharing that with us about Expedia Group. We have a little less than 15 minutes left in today's session. So if y'all have questions for the group, you know, for the team members here, please feel free to ask away. If you have asked in the chat and you have not been able to get an answer to your question yet, we are still trying to go back through those, but I definitely recommend that you ask them again in the breakout sessions. We've also got people asking questions about how to reach out and contact recruiters. So if you want to go, navigate to the virtual job fair landing page, so where you first were earlier today, navigate there, and then if you click on the company logos, there should be that should link you to like the FAQ docs that we used to share, and any kind of contact info that our recruiters wanted to share with y'all today. Okay, so let's see. Trying to make sure we get to some really great questions here. Okay, let's talk about burnout. All right, so I feel like this has been kind of top of people's minds, especially in the last couple of years, as a lot of us have found that working from home also means that you kind of work a lot more. It sort of kind of feels like you never actually leave work. So what are your various companies doing when it comes to work-life integration, trying to identify and prevent burnout in your employees? What does this look like at your various orgs? Let's see, Shelley, do you want to start us?
Yeah, sure. And we Servicenow twice a year does what we call employee engagement surveys, and well-being and our agenda and strategy has always been high. But what was glaringly obvious through the pandemic was there's a problem here with well-being, and it's exactly what you just said. Where's the blurry lines, the topsy-turvy environment that we found ourselves in, and people not having those kind of social interactions to kind of break up their day, which is why keeping the office doors open and to allow that has been really important. I literally had a conversation with my colleague today who felt guilty that she sat and had a coffee with her two colleagues in person for an hour, and I was like, stop feeling guilty. Like, that's what we used to do. We need to remember that actually is part of the normal working day, and that's really important. So we identified there's a big problem. Abu, I think you touched on this around kind of managing your day with well-being, and people have always been encouraged to take those breaks, go for a run, go for a walk, go to the gym, go to horse ride, whatever that thing is that kind of toxes you from the day, then do it. And if that means during the day, then great. But Servicenow put a really, really big kind of stake in the ground last summer, and we announced what we called Recharge Fridays. So for 13 weeks, I don't know why 13, but we did 13 weeks across summer. We finished at 1 p.m. on a Friday globally. So the entire 17,000 people downed tools and began their weekend. And I cannot tell you just how exciting it was on the first Friday. We were like, can we go? We can just go. And it really went down absolutely brilliantly. This year there's kind of high demand, bring it back. So we'll see what happens this summer, but they're definitely working on something to kind of reward, recognize, and encourage that downtime. Whether it be 13 weeks remains to be seen, but there's definitely going to be something there. It had such a profound impact on people's health that actually we've had a few people request to go officially part-time, so i.e. just not to do the Friday afternoon, because they realised how beneficial it was to their life, and we've agreed. So there's lots and lots of opportunity out there for that as well in terms of part-time working. But yeah, that's how I would summarise it. And I think we can be our own worst enemies when it comes to burnout, and sometimes we just have to take a little bit of a moment and figure that out for ourselves as well. So that would be my top tip for everybody.
Oh, I like that. All right, Marilyn, how about you? What does Equinix do about around the idea of burnout or that work-life integration or balance that we're all kind of striving for?
Yeah, so this is a huge area for me. Coming from the culture of sport, it wasn't always so friendly. I pretty much retired due to burnout. The performance culture is very different to exercise and enjoying it. So going through that transition, I was very conscious that I didn't want to enter this corporate world where everyone's burnt out. And the culture here is incredible. We've got a fantastic wellbeing team. Globally, our directors, Hebby and Becky, are fantastic. So similar to what Shelley just said, we've got Find a Better Way Wednesday, which, Find a Better Way is one of our values. So that is a day where you can block out your diary and almost filter what you want to do. Often it just means I get through my admin. And yeah, so people are conscious that, there aren't going to be many calls taken or accepted that day. Please don't book anything in my diary. But again, if that works for you, so that's just Find a Better Way Wednesday. There's also little things across the companies like introducing walking meetings and just letting people know that you're going to be probably taking a walk for that lunchtime call. Also taking off, blocking out your diary in the middle of the day if that suits you. Also, you know, being comfortable with keeping your camera off, that's absolutely a-okay. We also have across the company well-being breaks, for which I'm a facilitator for, which I've found that's just 15-minute breaks where you can come in and go through some light meditation, some breathing exercises, or simply have a chat, depending on, and this is run across all 3 regions. We also have company shutdowns every now and again. I know recently, with sensitivity to what was going on in Ukraine, we had a day just to pay our respects and for everyone to sort of gather their thoughts and pay our respects to the situation there, as well as just being encouraged to take your PTO or leave, because they kind of accrue, whereas your manager will be making sure that you are taking that, and also just wellness days. So yeah, I was really, really conscious to begin with, but super, super glad. We also have a lot of education around mental health in the workplace. So yeah, we are definitely a culture of advocating for positive mental well-being.
I love that. I love a good walking meeting. It's honestly one of my favorite ways to take a call. I feel like it opens up my my creativity. Kind of that change of scenery helps kind of put me in. I'm trying to think what it is. It's like liminal space, I want to say is what it's called. But it kind of helps, you know, change of scenery helps kind of like spark you know, different ideas and stuff. So I love that.
Yeah. And just to add, I think one of the best things though is the accountability from other employees. They really keep me on my toes. I think coming from a performance culture, it's like you just want to keep doing more. And so they were conscious of that and just making sure that, hey, log off now. So yeah.
Absolutely. Abu, let's talk about Expedia Group. What does what does the company do to help, you know, take care of its employees, prevent burnout, and make that work-life integration, you know, much more fluid or easy for people?
Again, another brilliant question. And the first thing I'm going to say is burnout, anxiety, mental health. We've heard the other panelists mention it. Parents coming back to work is a real concern. And to just have an organization, we've just come back to our hybrid working, think through, and I was involved in some of this, so I know it firsthand, think through some of these challenges and how we really do this, even to the point where we're thinking during our sort of hybrid come back to work, it's during the month of Ramadan, people are fasting. All of that was taken into consideration as we thought about it. And I agree with most of the things that have already been said by the panelists, because we do that as well. But we also have a plethora of benefits to support well-being, but also just managing careers. It's a conversation that we constantly have with the people team, really thinking about how do we tackle burnout? How can we make sure that people are really taking that time out, not just for what they do and their great careers at Expedia, but also family life and anything else they want to do. So everything that's been mentioned, we do as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you to each of you. All right. We only have 5 minutes left in today's session before we go into breakout rooms. So I want to, kind of leave space for everybody if y'all have questions or to get into those breakout rooms. So let's go with one quick popcorn round for our speakers here. Let's talk about, is there something that you wanted to talk about your company or highlight that we haven't been able to get to that you do not want attendees to leave without knowing? I know this is a question I kind of sprung on you at the last moment. It can be literally anything. I think it's really interesting to hear, some of these things that people think of as like, oh yeah, and this is my favorite part about Servicenow. Or, we've got this great program. We haven't gotten to talk about it yet. You guys have to know about clown college subsidies or something. So let's start. Let's see, Marilyn, do you want me to start with you, or we want to try and pick somebody else first?
No, we can start with me. Absolutely. I mean, Equinix's purpose is connectivity. We want to be a place where opportunity connects with the best talent. So I just always lead with the fact that we are really drawing on people's transferable skills. and what you can bring to this role. Often when I'm screening, a lot of people are, I'm coming from a different industry, I'm coming from a different background. We champion that. I am a walking example of that. And it's a culture where, you know, extraordinary opportunity meets extraordinary people to create an extraordinary place. And that, I think, for me, is what the magic of Equinix is. So come as you are. This is an inclusive culture where you will be championed to be your best self every day.
Great. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Abu, what is something that we cannot leave without knowing about Expedia Group?
Well, everything you read about Expedia is true. There is free food. There's a beautiful terrace. They have a barbecue. In fact, there's a mixer this afternoon. It is just, the building is amazing. Our meeting rooms are all different. It's beamed lighting. I mean, you know, just can't wait. So all I can say is, if you haven't thought about Expedia, check us out. I know we're going to have some recruiters in the breakout room, just in case you think I'm making this all up, but I'm not, and they will share more.
Very cool. All right, Shelley, what should our audience know before they leave us today?
It's funny, isn't it? Abu said he feels like, I am starting to feel like a salesperson here. It's quite funny. I think that, you know what, like, we clearly, the three companies here, like, we're fantastic. Like, we really are putting so much out there for all of our employees. Like, and listening to kind of Abu and Marilyn speak today, like, it's actually lovely to hear that there are so many companies out there that genuinely care about people. That's kind of been my takeaway from listening to the two others speak today. But I was like sitting here thinking, gosh, how would I summarize it? And I think I would come back to a couple of things I've said already, which is our culture and our sense of belonging. So our culture is our secret sauce. Like, it is really hard to put your finger on like what makes a good culture sometimes, but you know what makes a bad culture. So think about that. Think about what's important for you. What is it you're looking for? As I've already said, I joined a company a few years ago where I was like, what have I done? This is not for me. And the culture at Servicenow, it fits me. It kind of culturally adds to my life as well. I've been exposed to things that are new and interesting for me. And the sense of belonging, like, it's true. Like, if you don't feel you can be yourself, if you don't feel that you could put your hand up in a meeting and give your opinion, or maybe sometimes challenge something, then kind of what's the point in going to work? You know, we need to be stimulated, we need to be motivated, and the environment that we create really does mean that people can do that, and they can share their views and their opinions, and that they belong. And it's something that we spend a lot of time making sure is right. And we want to make sure that we continue to grow and develop with that, because, you know, there's always space to kind of grow. So yeah, I think it's about the two takeaways is our culture and our sense of belonging, and how proud we are of both.
Very, very cool. I honestly cannot agree strongly enough with what you said.